And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Back at it again. The Cowboys are a hot mess. So we got to talk about how to fix them. We're going to be talking about draft on Friday. So if y'all are, as tapped out as we are, we have to give y'all what you asked for, okay? So if some of y'all are looking forward to draft, we can do a little bit of draft. I saw somebody in my comments. They was like, hey, man, the draft talk is cool, but I wish we would still, talk about the season or whatever. I'm like, but they didn't watch the whole show, Bryan, because we did break down the Eagles defense. So we're going to take care of both sides here. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. I was a little bit, worried. Like I asked people today, and I even asked the group on the Cowboy break today. I said, hey, let me ask you guys something. I'm kind of in a little bit of a bind. I go, I've got people that believe the season still needs to be played out. And then I got people that believe that you need to get started on draft coverage. And I go, I'm torn on that a little bit. I'm torn on that. And I kind of feel like, though, that I feel like now I need to do both. I need to do both. And we will. Like I said, our show last night, I think, is a really good example of, we started off, I just got into one of those flows where, like, a discussion that I would have with another scout, if we were sitting at lunch or we were in a draft room, and, I would ask the question, where do you play this guy?
Sure.
Where do you, and we're talking about Travis Hunter, the very talented, and hey, Voch, this is what I've learned too.
Yes, sir.
This is what I've learned. You got to say the player's name and where they're from. You can't just, because what happens, you'll talk about guys and people like, who the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
So I learned that. Because I remember with me and Kavanaugh and KT and Hellman, we would talk about players like we knew who the guy was talking about.
Sure.
So you have to always say Travis Hunter or Hunter, the corner wide receiver from Colorado, so people know where you're at. But I asked, we were just having a conversation, but I feel like we can do both.
Yeah.
I feel like we can have, when the season it's not going well, but I kind of feel like, okay, let's transition into something, and let's pick up the spirits of people that are out there that are kind of like thinking, my football team is not very good right now. Maybe things will turn around, but there's draft talk out there. There's a new group of players. There's potential of having a really high pick, and I'm not trying to be mean about it, but that's if people really want it both ways, and I think you and I are going to do our best to try and make sure it's done in both ways.
You never have to apologize for good content, Mr. Broaddus. We had a fantastic show yesterday.
Good content would have told you my Deron Bland tease last night.
Well, please, sir, fulfill it, please. What's going on?
For you folks out there, they're waiting for the Deron Bland tease. I asked some people in the organization about what happened or how where we are right now with Deron Bland. And this is what I was told. I was told this is an 8 to 12 week rehab for the foot. It really depends could be on the back end. And when I say the back end, it could be on the back end of 10 to 12, depending on the position. Yeah. So here we are, defensive back. What does a defensive back do?
They plant, they drive.
Plant, drive, pedal, redirect, all these things. So here we are. At almost 7 weeks, he had unusually advanced so well that they thought there was no reason not to start his clock. He had progressed by the 7th week. He had progressed so far that they were like, boom, let's start this clock and let's get this thing going. So, and then a Thursday practice, he developed soreness.
Yeah.
And this is like the first time the soreness happened. And like they were working with him. And it's the first time the soreness had happened in 7 weeks. And then they're like, okay, let's just calm it down, see where we're at. And so they've been trying to slowly get him going again.
Sure.
Is what they're trying to do. You know, they've made a lot of progress in 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday practice, it goes south on him a little bit. And now they're trying to kind of get it back to the level where he didn't have the soreness. And, you know, so they think that it is taken a little bit longer than they expected. Yeah. But it all came down to that Thursday practice. And you're going to have some setbacks sometimes. You're going to have some setbacks. And in this case, they had one.
I would just sit him for the rest of the year, Brian. If it's me, I would just sit him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he's holding a roster spot right now, and if in fact it's the soreness doesn't go away, then I think they'll make that decision. Interesting, today we interviewed Stephen Jones on 105.3 The Fan on the G-Bag Nation, 2 to 7, Monday through Friday, and we interviewed Stephen Jones. This morning, Jerry Jones was selling the idea that Dak doesn't want surgery, that Dak doesn't, you know, he wants to give it some time. He wants to. That was about 10:30 this morning. Stephen Jones at roughly 3:10, 3:15. He sold the Dak going on IR bit. You know, he says there's no way this is going to be healthy in a short amount of time. Sure. You know, they're probably going to need some time. This could be season ending potentially, but Stephen Jones, from the time his father spoke at 10:30 to the time he spoke to us at 3:00, maybe they got some more news. Maybe they got some more updates about, okay, this is what needs to be done. You know, instead of like waiting on this and trying to get it healthy some natural way, that we need to shut it down and then go that route, go the other route. But Stephen Jones was not selling hope. He was selling more like, this is going to be more than just, you know, a couple of weeks. This is going to be something that's pretty significant.
Regardless of what happens, Dak is going to be here for another, 4 more years? 3 more years?
4 more years.
4 more years.
4 more years.
So,
yeah.
You know, it doesn't make sense to whine and complain. I know some Cowboy fans going to whine and complain, but he signed the contract, and it's a fresh, brand new contract. You might as well roll with what you got and get used to the idea that he's going to be here. You might as well not hurt him further and just get him ready for next year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Brian. Man, we got.
I hope we got that covered.
We're good. We got that.
We're good.
We got that covered. Bro. Let's talk about some.
I'm always going to try and bring you the best and the most fresh update medical information too. Because
I'm friends with Brian Broaddus. They don't know why the show got this, Brian. Per the Doing All Right podcast, Brian Broaddus and them say, "Hey, come on, man." Brian, I asked you a couple of days ago to think about it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you did because you're good at your job.
I did. Over my shoulder, there's a first place plaque. I think you could see it over my shoulder over here on this side. Which way? That side over here. Yeah. There you go. See that plaque next to the Cowboy logo or the Cowboy flag pennant?
Yeah.
That's for fishing. That's first place. That's first place at Echo Lake fishing. You were fishing.
Yeah.
You caught a big old fish.
Yeah.
You caught a big old fish. Is what you did.
Okay.
You know, I like to fish.
Okay.
And you caught a fish. You threw the bait out in the water.
Yes, sir.
And you said, "No, let's see if Bryan will start working on this draft a little bit." Because he's always worked on this draft December 1st. He's always worked on the draft December 1st.
Yeah.
You caught a big fish. Congratulations.
I love that. I'm mostly going heavy on draft because I feel like I need to be ready. And I'm not going to show up.
I'm getting that way too.
I'm not going to show up to nobody's party looking crazy.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I'm Voch. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get ready.
Yeah. I agree.
Brian, the Cowboys got 10 picks, man.
Yeah.
I asked you earlier this week just to kind of eyeball it a little bit and think about doubling down.
Okay.
At a certain position.
Yeah.
Wide receiver could use a lot of help. I see some people say, "Hey, man, let's just draft 2 running backs, one early, one late." I'm thinking defensive line and, maybe somewhere you're going to have to, DB technically, where you at with your safeties. You know what I'm saying? Some people think about that. Brian,
right.
if you had to double down anywhere with these 10 picks, where would you double down? What position would Bryan Broaddus double down?
Defensive tackle.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, but you don't have any right now, and you're probably going to lose Osa.
Sure.
You know, we'll see. Mozzie Smith, I've kind of felt like that maybe, you know, teams that you know that it's, you know, we always have the 3-year plan, but they need to think about defensive tackle here.
Sure.
They don't have any. I mean, they really, after this season, like I say, I don't think Oso Digizua is going to be here. I don't think they're going to be able to. Maybe they can afford him. Maybe he doesn't play at the level. I mean, he played really great against Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's good film for Osa. If somebody was trying to sell Osa as a legitimate defensive tackle,
Sure.
that's a good one to watch. Beat a lot of double teams, got some pressures, you know, was active. Don't sell him on the 49er tape, you know, don't sell him on that. I think defensive tackle clearly is a position that I would consider double downing on.
When I did the exercise earlier this week, Bleach Report, I went D-line 3 times, Brian Broaddus.
You drafted 3 defensive tackles, 3 defensive linemen, or you drafted 2 tackles and an end?
Yes, sir. I went a 3 tech in the 3rd round. I went a 1.
There you go.
And then I went a 1 tech in the 6th round, and I had an edge in the 5th.
Yeah.
I had an edge in the 5th. I wanted to go edge in the 4, but you know, Jerry Jones tripping. But you need to build this thing out. And I know there's this you wanna do sexy picks, man. But I was just having this conversation.
Football players, man.
I was having this conversation with Foots a little bit ago. I was like, you know, the Lions earned the right to draft running back, tight end, and all the sexy picks, you know, Jameson Williams and all that, because they spent their early picks on Ragnow, Sewell, the other little guard or whatever that they got, McNeil over there on the 1 tech, Aiden Hutchinson. They invested in fat kids on both sides of the football. So once you do that, then you can go and get a running back 12th overall and a tight end and a linebacker and just kind of do what you want to. The Cowboys don't have the luxury to get too sexy in this thing. I think you have the ability to maybe go get a wide receiver early and probably like a day 2 running back. But besides that, I want this to be a whole bunch of trench building with these picks. And honestly, Brian, I don't think 5th round picks save you a whole bunch. I would love to package some of these 5ths and try to move up a little bit. I would like to try to do that to get as many dudes as I could possibly get.
Stephen Jones told us today that this one of the reasons why they traded for Mingo was because they don't feel like the depth of the draft because of NIL money has made kids for day 2 and day 3 stay in college that they don't have. And I think it's an interesting thought. If you're a 5th, 6th round pick and you're making $500,000-$600,000 a year playing at USC, and you get drafted in the 6th round, why not just stay in school and keep making that money? You know, you're comfortable in college. Maybe the next year you go up from being a 4th or 5th, 6th round pick to your 3rd round pick or 2nd round pick. Stephen Jones says the depth of the draft is going to become far, far less because of NIL money. I'll be interested to see, because we've gone through the time where we had COVID draft.
Sure.
Where COVID draft was a lot of 6-year guys. Yeah. You know, a lot of 6-year guys were in drafts. You're looking at offensive linemen, 6 years. You know, some skill guys, 6 years. So to me, I think he might have a point here. But if, like you said, if you want to take 5ths and go and move up, I have no problem with that. I have no problem. But this team is draft and develop. They probably want to make all those picks.
Sure.
You know, until they're trading away 4th rounders. But that's kind of
Well, let's break them down a little bit, Brian Broaddus. Me and you.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that's going to be an early problem. I think at some point those guys are going to come out and play football at some point. So I think in 3 or 4.
No, that's the thing about it is, you got to, if NIL money is going to keep guys in school, because there's a process they could go through to put in where their draft status is going to be.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're a edge rusher from Iowa, and the NFL, people say you're a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Well, damn, I'm at Iowa. I'm making $300,000, $400,000 a year. Maybe I could one more year, kind of a thing. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays with the depth of the draft.
We will definitely see, boss man. But I gave you some homework, man.
I did. I took it to heart.
We kind of both had a little homework assignment. We knocked out our first 4 players. We used the PFF board. At some point, we'll transition into Dane's board.
Yeah, I talked to Dane. I talked to Dane last night after you and I visited.
Sure.
And I asked him, I said, you got their 100 list yet? He says, I'm working on my 50 that's going to be out Tuesday. So keep an eye on that for Dane Brugler. If you're a follower of The Athletic, that should be out Tuesday. Dane was going to spend some time on his 50 because he was asking me about Campbell, the tackle from LSU. And so he's putting some things together right now. But yeah, we'll work off this PFF board until we get that 50, which should be the next couple of days.
So let's go ahead and kick this off, Bryan Broaddus. You asked me yesterday a bunch of questions. We talked about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you disagree or are me and you on the same page? Are we simpatico about Travis Hunter, cornerback, wide receiver from Colorado?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most talented players in the country.
Yeah.
And you're right. I haven't seen a two-way player like this since Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. It'll be interesting to see where NFL teams want to play him. I honestly feel he could play both spots. I know we talked about that quite a bit, and he would do just fine. This kid has a real flair for that big play. You were right about that. He makes plays on both sides of the ball, tremendous body control, balance. I love the fact this kid has an edge to his game in the way he plays. I mean, the strong hands, snatch the ball right out of the air, the catch radius, the finish, the feel for how to play in small spaces, the work along the sidelines, in the back of the end zone. This kid has got so much feel for how to play that position at wide receiver. And I think that he could be a big time wide receiver. I really do. I think he puts a ton of pressure on the defender because the way he can start, stop, and then get going again at full speed, and the way he can carry his routes, and he's not afraid to go inside, across the middle. It doesn't matter. But I don't think the routes are particularly polished with him. But I do see the ability to improve because he's got so many traits to his game. But I love the way he competes, that way. Yeah. I love the way he can play in the secondary, though, too. For a thin guy, he can deliver a pop, and he can jam, and he does it with some authority to his game. And he plays the ball well in the air. You see him making a lot of plays that way. He's very good when he has to deal with crossing routes. This is one of my favorite things. If you ask me, Broaddus, give me one trait that could determine if a kid could play in the NFL at corner. And I said, if he can carry routes inside across the field and stay in sync or stay connected, or stay in phase with the receiver, this kid can play with me. Yeah. He deals with a lot of these. I mean, and he does it with ease. There's not a lot of wasted motion with this kid. And the one thing I like about him is, for 185 pounds, he is a physical tackler and a physical defender. Now, I've seen some plays. If you go back, and we're going to talk about McMillan from Arizona. Sure. Last year, McMillan got him in the corner of the end zone. I went back and watched. I said, okay, I think Arizona played Colorado. So went back and watched that game. And it was interesting from that aspect of Hunter having to deal with a 6'5", 212-pound receiver like McMillan is from Arizona. Mm-hmm. So me personally, I'm going to play Travis Hunter at first. I'm going to play him at wide receiver, and then kind of work in some stuff. Maybe I'm going to try and keep him as, when he plays defense, he might get banged up a lot, with the tackles and things like that.
Sure.
And he could do that. But I think I'm going to play him at wide receiver first and then play him at corner but I think he could be damn good at either one of those positions.
I like him at both, Bryan. I like him at both. I think he's in my personal opinion, I think he can translate to corner easily by himself. Like if you just line him up and say, "Hey, we're going to be playing man coverage today," I think he can line up and do that for you. I watched a bunch of the Baylor film, and you just see a bunch a bunch of him manning up, punching people in the face, competing all day, tough. To your point, I think coaches can make this thing weird with the route running, right? Coaches can overthink the route running a little bit.
Sure.
But if you just ask, he doesn't have to run a whole route tree for me.
Right.
He doesn't have to run a route tree for me. Let that dude be an athlete. Let him be a yak guy. He has a natural feel for how to use momentum and slip past guys and go and be a yak guy, or to just run past people or to find the ball in the air. Bryan Broaddus, I think you can use him as a here or there wide receiver when you're ready for him. And I think he'll be really, really good at that in the league, and he'll develop into being better at that. I just think this dude can play cornerback right now. And I think you can line him up anywhere and play him on the inside, play him outside, whatever you want to do. And when he catches a pick, he turns into a wide receiver again. I think that's very that's very dangerous. Go ahead, please.
I don't know. I don't think you're wrong about this. Sure. The thing I love about this kid, he is a superstar who's not afraid to mix it up or get dirty.
There you go.
He's really not. He's not. He's a superstar player, and he will throw his body around like there's no tomorrow. You know, and I love this about the kid. I totally agree with you about, I think if I had to pick one spot right now where he could probably do the most good for me is catching footballs and making plays and scoring touchdowns. Yeah. That's where I kind of feel like, but I don't disagree. He is a great player to study for how he plays this game.
Do you think coaches on the next level are going to let him play both ways, or they're going to just make him play one way?
I think they're going to make him play one way and then kind of figure out some packages where he could play maybe some other positions. But to me, if he plays corner, keep him at corner. Let him go. Let him be that guy. Sure. If he plays receiver, let him be that guy. You know, he's got a chance. He's got a chance to be great at both positions. I don't know. Will the wear and tear of the NFL, a different game? He plays in a fine conference though, in the Big 12. He plays against some good, you know. Yeah. Puka Nacua came from BYU. Sure. You know, they play BYU. You know, playing the Big 12.
They're undefeated too.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I just kind of feel like that. To me, I would keep him at one spot, and then I would make sure that he becomes the very best he can at that spot, and maybe dabble with some of the other stuff if possible.
Let's talk about these next three guys, and then we'll come back and kind of rank them. I think that'll be a fun thing for us to do. Like, we got a bunch of guys that's in the same area relatively, because I think it's going to be a lot of conversation about Travis because he does play both. So if you only value him as a corner, what do you have him? If you only value him as a receiver, what do you have him? If you value him as both, does he get more points or less points? I think it's going to be worth talking about. But McMillan, I'm just gonna call him Tet. I don't know how to say Tet. Nick Harris know how to say it, but Tet McMillan, man, that dude's special. Bryan Broaddus, that dude is special to me. Yeah, I think every single year we talk about these guys, right? These tall, long guys. Colin Johnson. We talk about our guy from Florida State last year. Just the big tall. I forgot his name. The
Wilson. Johnny Wilson.
Johnny Wilson. Yeah. The big tall receiver that goes up and gets it. We talk about a catch radius dude every single year, Bryan Broaddus.
We do. We do.
Man, Tet McMillan does it better than all those guys, though.
I think, to me, and you're talking about a player that's 6'5" and 212 pounds. Yeah. And I when I was watching him run routes, I was going, this dude can cover some ground. Sure. You know, I mean, he gets there with his stride. And you're absolutely right. This kid catches the ball on the move. He is really, really good at doing that. He can make things happen with the ball in his hands. He's a weapon in every sense of the word when it comes to work in the middle of the field. I mean, big, long guy running inside routes. And then now the ball's right there on him and he's able to like catch it and go. He has got a good feel for how to execute routes.
Sure.
You could see him. He knows what he's doing in that regard. And I mean, you can see him put his foot in the ground and then break to the inside.
Yep.
And I think their quarterback does a really nice job of getting him the ball on the move. There's not a lot of times where, he's having to totally work for the ball coming inside. But you get down the red zone, my man will make some one-handed catches.
Sure will.
He'll make some crazy. You watched the New Mexico game.
There you go.
He's like, and everybody's like, oh, Broaddus, it's New Mexico. Well, you got to watch tape. We'll get more tape.
Yeah.
We'll get more tape. More tape will come rolling in. He's playing a good schedule there in the Big 12. But this guy, soft, reliable hands. He doesn't fight it. He's a smooth moving guy. He's got great concentration. I've seen him take hits and then hold on. I admire the way that he's able to catch the ball in traffic. I really am. I think but he'll punish tacklers after catch.
Sure.
So you could see him. He's kind of a hard guy to bring to the ground. But if you look at metrics on this kid, because I had the ability to grab some, this kid is one of the tops in the country when it comes to forcing missed tackles at a wide receiver. Big body, catching the ball, running, and forcing people to miss him tackling. I think you could play him inside. I think you could play him outside. He's just not going to drop the ball. I'm super impressed with this kid and how he's developed as a player.
Yeah. And, Bryan, I'm not the biggest fan of the big receiver because a lot of times they don't really separate all that well. And I don't know how much he's going to be able to separate at the next level. He can move once he gets going downfield, but like right off the line of scrimmage, I don't know how much he's going to be able to separate, but his arm length and his body, or he'll go up and get it. And
you wouldn't call him a burner though. I mean,
no.
He's very smooth in the way he runs. Yeah. And I'm looking up something here real quick on my phone. I'm not trying to dish you or anything here, but I'm looking up something I was just curious about him because he kind of reminded me of this guy, and I want to make sure that I have the right guy.
Sure.
But yeah, this kid's not a burner at all. But he really, I mean, his stride.
Yeah.
He covers a lot of ground. With the way he plays. I just want to make sure I'm looking up the right guy when I'm talking about this cat.
And then plus, Bryan, too, while you're looking that up, I like yak guys, man. And I think some people, when they think about yak guys, they think about, oh, I'm just going to run away and just explode down the field. Like he has this, I'm just going to wiggle in one direction and you'll miss. Or I'm just tall and I'll wiggle the other way. And I wonder if he's so tall that you can't really see how he's moving. And by the time you get too close, he's just too big. But go ahead.
Okay. I looked up because I was curious because I've seen this kid play a bunch and I just wanted to make sure I had the right height on him. Michael Pittman at the Colts.
Sure. USC guy. Yeah.
Yep. 6'4". He's 220 pounds. Okay. So Pittman's 8 pounds bigger than McMillan. Yeah. But when I was watching McMillan, I was thinking of Michael Pittman. Sure. Is what I was thinking.
Sure. Sure.
Pittman was a second round pick.
Yeah.
In the 2020 draft. So he's been in the league a while now. But it reminded me of a guy that tall.
Sure.
Catching the ball. I mean, you're right about the Colin Johnsons. There is not a great history of 6'6" wide receivers. It's a group that hasn't had a lot of success.
Sure. Bryan, it's funny because I look at McMillan and I think he looks bigger than my man Pittman, Michael Pittman. Yeah. He looks bigger than and he plays bigger than Pittman. He doesn't run a 4.4, but I think he was like Mike Evans and like Texas A&M to where he was able to high point and Manziel just kind of throw it up there. He'll just come down with it. He's just not as fast as Mike Evans. Mike Evans was a big 4.4 runner. He's not that.
I asked Dane Brugler, I go, what is he going to run?
Sure.
What is he going to run? I was asking about him and Johnson, and He's like, well, you might see 4-4, 4-5. I'm like, okay. The way the guy moves,
Yeah.
he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And the fact of the way he catches the ball is even more impressive.
Great hands.
So great hands. I'm looking forward to seeing if there anybody else that can, we're talking about two guys right off the jump.
Who's better?
With Hunter.
Who's better? Or pardon me, who would you draft first? Because Travis makes this difficult because he plays two positions. Who do you draft first?
I'd take Hunter over McMillan. I think Hunter's a more explosive player, but I think McMillan, like I said, McMillan does a lot of the dirty work stuff too.
Sure.
Those are two really. I think I would take Travis first because I think there's a little bit more explosiveness to his game.
Yeah. I think
is what I would do.
I think McMillan's a better receiver.
No question.
But Travis plays great corner. He plays corner really well. So Travis can give you two things. And I think it's going to be hard, but I might like McMillan a little more than Travis. Like I could see McMillan being my X receiver right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to develop a plan for Travis. So as a receiver, I personally don't think it's close. I got McMillan, but I love the idea that I could take Travis and just go say, hey, go over there and cover him and he'll do it.
Man, they both have outstanding hands. It depending on what the height is and stuff like that. I mean, the 6'5" over the 6'1".
Yeah.
I always felt like that all these receivers that were 6'1" or 6 foot 6'1", in and out of breaks, the quickness, agility.
Sure.
Maybe the other guy a little, tall, long, taking a little bit more time. I don't know, man. It's a good problem to have.
Sure.
But I love a 6'1" wide receiver. 6 foot, 6'1". I love those receivers.
This will be tough. But I'll just say Hunter for now. But I might change my mind later. But I got Hunter for now.
We got a long way to go. Yeah, we changed our mind a lot.
Man, Bryan, but I was watching Michigan, man. I was trying my best not to grade the helmet. And a part of me was like, okay, well, Chris Jenkins and Mozzie looking weird, but what if there's a situation where I get a Rashawn Gary or like an Aiden Hutchinson? What if it's a good Michigan dude and not a bad Michigan guy?
Well, this is what you got to think of now about Michigan is it's Swink Martindale is the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
The Michigan defensive coordinator is now, I believe, at Jesse Minter is now at the Los Angeles Chargers and doing a damn good job over there with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Different scheme. Mason Graham and those guys, different scheme. Different players. They look different.
I was just about to say, I don't even think it matters.
Not two gap. Not that extend, look, oh, get rid of guy. No.
Yeah. But he can though. Mason Graham can.
Oh no, Mason Graham
because this is what I like. This is what I like a bunch about Mason Graham. He does have powerful, violent hands.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite trait for a D lineman is that you don't get lost in the fight. Right? You just don't get lost wrestling this dude and the running back way over there and you don't even see him.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's a guy that can control somebody in front of him and then he can look around and go. I've seen him line up in a gap and give you pass rush also. Right? So he's a guy that can get upfield, boom. He's a guy that can punch, read, go find the run, bam, strong guy. I've even seen him stand him up. And they'll put him over on the edge. And he'll go.
Oh yeah, put him out on the edge. Yeah, and crazy.
He's 320 pounds.
6'3", right now, 320.
He's a good moving. He's a good moving 320-pound kid. My only thing about Mason though is when I watch him, and I got a question for you. When I watch him, I feel like the only time he gets blocked is when people let him block him. Right? Like I think sometimes he'll let people block him sometimes, but there's other times where there's this triple team to stop him, and he'll smoke all three of the dudes in front of him. So I'm just wondering, is that a conditioning? I just want to know what that is. Is it an effort type of thing? But I don't know. But
man, I mean, I'll tell you this though. I'm never going to question this kid's effort because I'm watching the Texas game.
Yeah,
and they're getting beat. They're getting beat pretty good for a Michigan team at home. Yeah. They're getting beat by Texas. Texas is taking it to him pretty good.
Sure.
He plays really hard when his team's behind.
Yeah.
I like that about this kid.
Sure.
Now, I'll tell you this, though, in the Texas game, and tell me if did you get a chance? Did you see Texas at all? Did you get to see the Texas game?
Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah. Okay. Did you think he had a little problem with some balance?
falling around a little bit.
Yeah, falling around a little bit.
Yeah.
And it might be the second game of the year and you're not really in condition. And because I watched the USC game.
Yeah.
And he looked better in the USC game.
He was
looked
beating
better.
The shit out of USC,
his balance, his balance was better. His conditioning was better. He's throwing guys around, you know. I mean, he is not a sloppy guy for 320 pounds.
Sure.
He's not, you know. And so I saw like a kind of a arm over, hands, power, strength, control, finding the ball, active, get outside the tackle box. He's not going to stay in one spot too often. He's going to kind of be moving, getting to where he knows. But man, not a lot of pass rush moves other than kind of the arm over and then the power.
Sure.
But he does push the middle of that pocket.
Yeah.
And you do, as you mentioned, and rightfully so. He plays on a lot of different spots on that line of scrimmage. I mean, you'll see him playing damn end.
Yep.
See him standing up. You see him like playing down as a one technique. You see him playing over the center, over the guard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I put this in my notes. I said more quickness off the snap than we've seen from Michigan players in the past. And I think it's because of the different coordinator.
Sure.
I think Wink Martindale's like, go, don't read, look, shed, move.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
Well,
so I think there's a lot more of attack with this kid than there is that old Michigan scheme.
They need to give Martindale a raise then, man, because I think, you said what I was thinking, right? He doesn't have a bunch of pass rush moves, but he has pass rush ability. Right. He
does. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I wonder if somebody, 320-pound guy, how much are you going to be like all rip and, and pull and, how much are you going to be? Maybe I'm asking a lot from this guy.
Sure.
But I think this guy could do it. He's a disruptive guy, and like I told you earlier, they're getting killed by Texas and he is still playing hard. Yeah, still playing hard. And I respect that out of this guy.
Let me ask you a question there, Bryan Broaddus. He's 320 pounds.
You want me to draft him right now?
I just asked you a question.
He could help you. He could help you. He could absolutely help you.
I'm just about to ask you a question,
just don't look. I'm trying to answer this question without you asking the question. But you don't look at the helmet. Don't look at it. And you know what? It's Michigan. I get it. Different coordinator. It's a different scheme. It's a different looking player. This is not a read and react player. This is not. This is a get after your ass kind of a player.
I wasn't even going to ask you that. I wasn't even going to ask you that. I would imagine you would have more faith in my question asking, Bryan Broaddus. That's something
you're ready for me to say, oh, Voch, that's a good question.
No. That wasn't even what I was saying. I got two questions that ain't had nothing to do with that. How about this, Bryan Broaddus? He's 320 pounds.
Yeah.
Do you play him at 1 or 3?
I put him at the 1. I think he can play 3, though. I think he can. I put him at the 1 is what I did. And hey, would you take a 1 technique? And unless it was like we've seen some big boys go pretty early in this draft.
So now, Bryan Broaddus, this is where it gets real tough.
We've seen guys. We've seen these Jordan Davis and Jalen Carters, and
So Bryan, my board has him 3rd overall right now. Who's better, him or Quinnen Williams? Mason Graham or Quinnen Williams when he was in Alabama, coming out of Alabama?
Sheesh.
Sucks.
God dang. What year was Quinnen Williams? Do we remember? Is he
19 or something? 18, 17, 2000?
Was he that far? Do my notes go back? Hang on, I'm gonna look this up real quick because
he's gotten paid, so that's 5 years, so 19. He's 18 or so, I guess. No,
is he 18?
19. I can Google it and
no. I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking up Jets depth chart. I need to pull that up because that's a pretty good. Because I loved Quinnen Williams.
2019 draft.
2019.
3rd overall, Bryan Broaddus. So what I want to ask is, if this a guy,
my notes go to. I got my notes. My whole thing. 2020 NFL draft. So yeah. But I'd have to go back and check on that.
If this is a guy that goes 3rd overall for you, Brian Broaddus, is he a Quentin Williams type guy? Is he a Jalen Carter type guy? If you're gonna take him 3rd overall,
man,
I don't think he's quite those guys.
No, I don't think he is either.
I don't think he's quite those guys. I think Quentin Williams played with so much control. He was so powerful, and Jalen Carter played with so much explosion and violence. Yeah. I think Mason Graham is a really good player that can help you. And I think he'll probably be around like 8, 9, or 10 or something like that. But as the 3rd overall guy, I don't think he's up there with the Quentin Williams and Jonathan Allens in there.
I'm just curious because I want to see something here. You're talking about Jalen Carter, right? Is that one you wanted?
Quentin Williams and Jalen Carter.
I know. I'll have to find my Quentin Williams notes, but let me look at Jalen Carter. I'll read you what I had about Jalen Carter. Oh, geez, what am I doing here? I need to do that. I need to do this.
I need to give me a database with my notes in it because I know I'm playing with the big boys now. So I need to give me a.
Oh no, I've got 5 years worth of notes in my computer right now. Is what I'm dealing with. So I was just curious. Did I put him as a 3? I might have put Carter as a 3. Is what I did. I think I did. Sure. Man, I do this because I lose track. Okay, Jalen Carter. This is what I said about him. He was 6'3". What I had from him, he was 6'3". He was 314 pounds. I said this on my notes. I said looks much bigger, much longer and bigger weight-wise than on tape. Outstanding power, leverage in the way he plays. He'll line up along the line of scrimmage. We just talking about that. Have seen him play tackle as well as in. When he comes off the ball, he can be difficult to slow down. Plays with the surge off the snap. There are times you see the blocker get rocked back. There's some shock to his game. Good arm over move. We just talked about that. Wouldn't say he has a ton of pass rush moves. We talked about that with this guy. But has power to allow him to overcome any issues that he might have. Would call him a violent player off the ball. Would you say Graham is a violent player?
I think he can be sometimes.
I think he can too. Can be disruptive in the running game. Does a really good job of controlling the blocker. What are we talking about? Same kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Is going to get his hands inside first and win. Doesn't play the game tall. So when I say he doesn't play tall, he's going to play with some knee bend. He's not going to let you, he's not an upright. He's not going to let you steer him and stuff. So you got good knee bend and balance. Okay, now I had questions about Graham and some of the balance stuff, but that was the one game. It was Texas. They're getting their ass kicked. It's the second game. Might not be in condition. Not making excuses, but just kind of telling you what I saw. Sure. I said, well, chase the ball down when it goes away from him. Graham does that. Does a really good job as a finisher. Graham does that. When he strikes you, you see the ball carrier go flying. Plays with so much power. That's what I saw with Jalen Carter.
Sure.
And there's some similarities to his game as to Mason Graham's game from Michigan.
Yeah. I think they both are cut from the really good pass rusher cloth, but I think Jalen Carter is a better player. I think Quentin Williams.
I would say so too.
And I say all that to say is I wonder where your first drop off starts to happen because the Cowboys drafting up there. And I look at Travis Hunter as an amazing player. I look at Ted McMillan as an amazing player. I think Mason Graham is a really, really damn good football player that can help you right now.
I'm kind of with you on that. I'm interested to see if we get like Dane's list. Sure. Is there somebody he has better than Mason Graham? Another defensive tackle that we're not thinking about.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay, so the cornerback from Michigan,
Will Johnson,
had a little bit of a hard time with him, Brian, bro. Just a little bit of a hard time.
It's not an easy one to do.
A little bit of a hard time. I think cornerback inherently is boring. That's my my first issue there. But I do think he's a player that's smart in zone, and I think he gets most of his interceptions from zone. I think he's more likely going to be a man cover guy. Some pretty good size. He's 6'2", 190 something possibly.
He's 6'2", 202.
202, pretty good. Good arm length on him. he don't want to tackle a soul. I hate his tackling. He just flops all over the place tackling, Bryan, bro. I ain't like
okay, well, he was on the books so far for 5 missed tackles so far this year.
Okay. He will probably have more if he tried to tackle more. He ain't good.
Yeah.
But I think he's a solid player, can run pretty good. He seems really smart in zone coverage, but I like him much more as a press man guy. What did you think about Will Johnson from Michigan cornerback?
Yeah. What did you think about Horn coming out of college at South Carolina, JC Horn?
I thought JC was really aggressive. I thought he was really natural. I thought he was a great moving guy.
Gambler.
He did gamble.
Yeah.
He did gamble.
All right, this is what I got on Will Johnson.
Sure.
Because I go, and folks, please excuse me for always reading, but I'm just giving you my notes.
All right.
I think we will generally line up at the right corner in this defense. Mm-hmm. He has ideal size and length for the position, and I thought he ran well enough. Plays with some short area quickness and some change of direction. I think he is a kind of a fluid moving guy for a tall guy. I feel like he could flip his hips and adjust in the route. You will see him play more off coverage than tight, to your point. I went back and watched this kid play against Marvin Harrison, and it was really quite a battle. The ball skills, the recognition. I didn't feel like he was going to get fooled or put out of position. The patience, the footwork. There's some smooth back pedal. He can transition quickly out of that. I think he can play from the ability, plays from depth, and then does a nice job of playing the ball in the air. He made some big plays in his career playing this way. Yep. The vision, the awareness. I've seen some good tackles, and I've seen some misses. He's not afraid to get involved, but his success rate will come and go. He was on the books for 5 missed tackles. That's through week 10 here so far. He has the ability to mirror and match his man coverage. That makes him ideal for that man coverage stuff.
Sure.
He's got the instincts in the zone. I think that makes him kind of a diverse player in that way.
Yeah.
His size, his length make him ideal to handle the bigger receivers in the league. I thought there was some JC Horn to this guy. Sure. I really, I was kind of thinking about, man, here's a guy that kind of has some size to him. JC Horn maybe a little bit more of a gambler.
Yeah.
Than this guy.
A little more physical too, just in my own.
A little bit more physical, yeah.
A little bit more physical.
But I was thinking about the how the size and stuff like that.
Sure.
For when you're talking about the top guys.
Yeah.
The top guys. Yeah. Like I think JC Horn was. Did he go 8th or 9th in the draft? It was right ahead of Micah Parsons.
Number 8. Yep.
Is where he. Yeah. So
the one thing I really like about him though is that he can anticipate. He can read and anticipate.
Yeah.
And I think that'll get you far in the league. He's not just going off just talent to mirror guys or whatever. Like he sees it and he'll go and attack it. So I think he can play whatever scheme. I think he can play man, and I think he can play zone pretty well. But I think he'll be better as a press man guy because of his size and his arm length.
Yeah, he will. I'm like I say, you do see a lot of zone, which is kind of surprising because we talked about Wink Martindale and how much he blitzes. The Giants, he was Ravens off the bus. They were blitzing people and stuff like that. So I think he's a good player. I mean, I was talking with Dane Brugler about him because I had some questions about, do you think this guy's really, really fast? He goes, he's going to be mid 4.4s. I'm like, okay. So, you don't always see it.
Yeah.
Don't always see it.
Yeah.
He had a good battle against Marvin Harrison. I just like, okay, I got to see him play against.
I don't even think they threw it over there. Did they? Like they
he had 3 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown.
Okay, I probably got to go back and watch that one. I watched Washington playoff game. I watched what was it, Texas or something like that? It was a couple of games I watched.
Yeah, who did they? Michigan played Alabama.
I got the Alabama game, yeah, for sure. I can go look, but yeah, Will Johnson, solid player, solid player, what I'm saying? I got a USC and I got Alabama, I got Washington playoff game last year, and I got Ohio State. It's right there. Okay, cool. So yeah, I watched those, and I got Bama on there too. So I think I got a good serving size of them. I don't think I was blown away. I don't think I was blown away by Will Johnson.
Like I say, I had more. I had my notes in some ways are good.
Sure.
And in others, I'm kind of like, I'll always kind of try and find, it's really easy to tear players down if you want.
Sure.
I always try and find the positives.
Yeah.
I think there's probably going to be better corners. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see where people put this guy to start. And there might be one or two guys that we end up kind of, maybe they're a little bit behind, but then all of a sudden it's like, well, God, this guy can really, really run.
Yep.
This guy plays with quickness. Usually those long, tall guys, they don't turn particularly well. I think this kid turns well enough, but you need to see a lot more is what you need to do.
It is very early and the board is going to change a bunch, Bryan. Do you have him as a better player than Mason Graham?
I would take Mason Graham over this guy.
I would definitely take Mason Graham over Will Johnson there. But hey,
Hunter McMillan, Graham, Johnson.
We agree.
That's kind of how I've got him. Yeah.
And I'm just like you, Bryan. I got a funny feeling that we're gonna get to like the 25th guy, and I'm gonna go, hey man, I like this.
Yeah, no, 25th guy will end up being 8th guy. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Like Pro Football Focus. I mean, I was looking at some of their stuff, and I'm like, going, God, this seems like me, because I was just, they're just a guide. They're just a guide. And then after I wrote my report, I went back and I looked at the grades and stuff. I'm like, man, I didn't see that. I didn't see, so, it's, hey, welcome to ice cream season, man.
I just need the names. Just give me the names
give me the damn names. I don't need you to tell me. I don't need you to tell me who's playing. Just give me the damn names. I'll look at them.
Bryan Broaddus, I bow and salute to you, Sensei. This was a fantastic.
I bow to you as well, sir. It's off to a good running start here. So, let's see, 9:30, I'll be off the air. So if you want to do, got a post-game show, maybe 9:30 or so from the Miller Light Club.
It's a
we'll talk about.
It's a 3:00 game versus.
Yeah, I got to work till 9:30.
Okay, yeah,
I get
cool.
off at 9:30.
9:30 is still early enough to get some work in for sure. So we'll do it.
I just like I say, it's those 2:00. It's 1:00 in the morning games. I can't catch you, man. I know that.
It's tough, man. I'm snoring by the time that happens. All right,
good deal, bro.
Chat, y'all be sure to let us know what you think about the format. We'll still do the Cowboy stuff all season. We're gonna
break down the Monday film, stuff like that. Yeah,
we're gonna keep doing that, but we're gonna do questions and draft on Friday. So y'all tell us how you like, and y'all tell us how you rank these players and what y'all think about it, because y'all a fantastic audience, and I know y'all has been watching already because y'all impatient. Okay, y'all be sure to tap in with me at Voch Lombardi. I'll be talking a little bit of draft on the social medias, but please be sure to tap into Bryan Broaddus, because he's gonna be doing all the Cowboy work while I'm balls deep in the draft season. All right, y'all hold down till next time. We love y'all to pieces. Until then, crown.